Does everybody know what time it is? No, not tool time. Horror movie time. Yes, indeed, it's true. The September 2021 horror packs have finally arrived. A little bit later than usual this month. There was some sort of a delay with the Blu-ray pack, but as you can see, they've both arrived. They're here. I'm ready to open them up. As you know, if you've been following this series of videos all along, or even for the last month or so, this month's horror packs mark my entry into year 2 of my horror pack subscription. I recently reviewed my first year of horror pack offerings, and you can find that video in my backlog. Now we're embarking on another year, so I'm really excited to get started. And of course, Halloween is now just about a month away, so hopefully we've got some great new horror movies in here to help us set the season. Of course, Dr. McCoy and I have been spooking up the house. We've been engaged in all kinds of creepy business getting ready for Halloween. Hopefully these will offer us a good way to relax at the end of a spooky day with some spooky movies. So let's go ahead and open these up and we'll see what the fine folks over at Horror Pack have given us for September 2021. There's number 1. And there's number 2. And yes, I need to sharpen my knife. That'll be on my to-do list for this month at some point. But in any case, we have 2 of these wonderful little white packages that always have some goodies inside. So, as is our way, I'll open these up and we'll discuss whatever we find inside. We can tell by looking at the ends of the cases, this is the DVD horror pack. So I like to start with this one. Let's dig right in and see what we have. First up is Death Day. The little tagline on the front says, "Make a wish to survive." So this looks like some sort of a birthday horror. I'm unfamiliar with this one, but let's read the description and see what it's all about. The description on the back says, Morgan is about to have the day from hell. When Morgan Wainwright's father dies after breaking a deal with the devil, it unknowingly passed his debt on to her. She soon finds herself in a never-ending cycle of terror as she is brutally murdered, then resurrected over and over again, each time losing a piece of her soul. Now she must discover why this is happening and break the deadly cycle in order to escape. That sounds like an intriguing premise. I've seen a couple of movies dealing with that death and resurrection kind of theme. In fact, there was one from the horror pack several months back. I don't remember which month, but it was called Dead Dicks. That was more of a weird sci-fi horror movie, whereas this seems more like a straight supernatural horror movie. That other one was, I'm not going to say my favorite, but it was certainly an intriguing watch, and this one sounds like an intriguing watch. I am looking forward to giving a good try to Death Day. Next up out of the DVD pack is Hellgirl. The description on the back of this one says, a team of ghost hunters must set aside their quick-buck party ways when they discover that one of their own is the offspring of the demonic entity haunting their latest job. Ghost hunter movies are always interesting to me. A lot of them are maybe not great movies, but they're worth a laugh. That's honestly how I feel about most ghost hunting in general. And I've dabbled in paranormal investigation a little bit myself, and I'm keen to do more, but my approach is much more of a serious, sort of scientific approach, and maybe in a future video I'll discuss my philosophy about it in more detail. But to be fair, most of the ghost hunters, especially the ones you see on TV, are not really investigators. They're going out trying to scare the bejesus out of each other, running around creepy places. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. I like to scare the bejesus out of myself too, but let's just not call that investigation. Let's call that running around in the dark and scaring the bejesus out of yourself. So I have kind of a love-hate relationship with ghost hunting and ghost hunters, but they certainly make good fodder for horror movies, and this one sounds like it's going to play with a lot of those tropes. It mentions that they have their party ways, so it sounds like these are not very serious investigators. These are the people running around trying to scare the bejesus out of each other in the dark. So when they encounter a real horror, as it seems like they do in this movie, that's a good opportunity for some interesting storytelling. This one should be fun as well. That's Hellgirl. And next out of the DVD pack, we have Restricted Area. The little sign on the front says this is a dead end. This is another film that I'm not familiar with, but according to the description on the back, 4 blue-collar friends recently laid off from the steel mill take one last camping trip into the wilderness. Has that ever worked out well for anyone? Just saying. One last camping trip into the wilderness, where they discover a backwoods cult with a cataclysmic agenda. What started out as a relaxing getaway quickly turns into a fight for survival. So this seems sort of like a crazy people in the woods, kind of a Deliverance sort of thing. Should be interesting. As familiar as that plot is, it frequently turns into a good story. So, though I am unfamiliar with it, I am also looking forward to trying Restricted Area. And finally, out of the DVD pack, we have The Scientist. And the tagline says, "There is no cure for the undead." Based on that, I'm guessing zombie movie. I guess it could be vampires or something, but I'm guessing zombies. Let's read the description and find out. The description says, "A leading-edge scientist risks legal and moral boundaries as he struggles to care for his dying wife, who only has a few weeks left to live from her terminal illness. Steve Unger, a brilliant biochemist, leads the research of a potentially breakthrough cure that regenerates cells faster than anything currently possible. When his research is deemed too dangerous and is stopped by his company, Steve goes rogue and embarks on a journey into madness, continuing the development of a cure to save his wife's life, not realizing that his dark obsession could lead to the extinction of all humanity." Okay, does not specify zombies in the description, but I'm still guessing zombies. I'm guessing that this research leads to zombie virus of some sort, maybe zombie outbreak. I don't know whether this is going to be an apocalyptic zombie story or a more localized within the laboratory kind of a story. Either way, it has a lot of potential. Now this is kind of a modern day Frankenstein kind of story. This rogue scientist messing with things that maybe science oughtn't to mess with. And I think that's an interesting thing for horror movies or horror literature to explore, because it's a legitimately difficult question, because of course we need new science and new technology. That's how we advance. But on the other hand, our science and technology frequently is like letting a genie out of the bottle that we can never put back into the bottle. And so obviously good fodder for horror movies. I am also looking forward to trying The Scientist. And that brings us to the Blu-ray pack. Let's see what we have in here. The first one is one called Wakewood. The tag on this one says, "The dead should never be woken." And this is another one I'm unfamiliar with, although I do see it's from Hammer, which suggests good things to come. Let's read the description and learn a little bit more about it. The description says, "After the sudden and violent death of their 9-year-old daughter Alice, Patrick and Louise relocate to the remote town of Wakewood to start their lives anew. But they quickly discover that beneath its idyllic country facade, the town holds a dark and mystifying secret, a centuries-old pagan ritual that brings the dead back to life for 3 days. Desperate to say the goodbye they never had the chance to, Patrick and Louise agree to resurrect Alice. But their daughter is different now, and with time quickly running out, the couple will have to decide if their love for her truly transcends the boundaries of life and death." That's an intriguing story. Sounds a lot like Stephen King's Pet Sematary. And Pet Sematary is one of my favorite of Stephen King's works because, to me, I'm not really afraid of the monsters we read about and watch in horror books and movies. I don't exactly believe in the supernatural. I'm not afraid of zombies or vampires or any of those kinds of things. What does frighten me are these ideas of life and death and what grief can do to people psychologically, and all of these deep human emotions that you can put into that kind of a story. And I think that makes Stephen King's Pet Sematary one of his finest works. And so I'm hopeful that if this does some of the same kinds of things in terms of characterization and storytelling, this should also be a great movie. So I'm really looking forward to trying Wakewood. And second out of the September 2021 Blu-ray horror pack is, oh, awesome! It's Killer Clowns from Outer Space. This movie almost needs no introduction. Of course I've seen it. It's been a little while, but I've seen it. This is a cult classic, and for good reason. I've always liked Killer Clowns from Outer Space. For those of you who don't know, in case there are any of you who don't know, I'll read the description for you. I just need to get it out from behind the sticker that's covering part of it up. Oh good lord, the sticker's on the inside. Lovely. Oh, and while I'm messing with the sticker, I also noticed the cover here. There's a different cover beneath this little flap, so this is sort of an interesting addition. I really like this cover. I can't quite see what's underneath, and I'm not going to peel it off for right now, but just that's something interesting to note. Okay, that's good enough on the sticker. Let me read the description on the back for you now. Finally, the truth about clowns is out. Beneath their smirky, sinister grins and wildly patterned clothes are clever killers from out of this world. The juxtaposition of their toy store arsenal and malevolent intent proves to be a tasty combination, according to the Los Angeles Times, in this killer entertainment that will leave you fearing these big-top creatures for good. A spaceship, looking like a circus tent, lands in a field near a small town, signaling the attack of deviant, red-nosed, balloon-twisting psychos from another world who plan to annihilate mankind by turning people into cotton candy. Luckily, the town's teen citizenry decides to fight back and teach the cosmic bozos a lesson. But these clowns are no klutses, turning popcorn, peanuts, and caramel corn into playful but deadly weapons of madcap destruction and mayhem. Does that not sound just like a riot of a film? This is a riot of a film. If you haven't seen it yet, if you're the kind of person who likes what I do on this channel, you're probably the kind of person who's going to like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I don't have a copy of this in my collection, so I am thrilled to get this in the horror pack, even though I have seen the movie. And third out of the Blu-ray horror pack is Tremors, A Cold Day in Hell. Now, of course, we all know the Tremors movies. The original and some of the sequels are excellent films. I have not seen the entire franchise yet, and this is one of the ones I haven't seen. This is one of the more recent ones. It came out, I think, 2-3 years ago, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but a few years back this one came out, and I haven't seen it yet. The description on the back tells us, Burt Gummer and his son Travis Welker find themselves up to their ears in graboids and ass blasters when they head to Canada to investigate a series of deadly giant worm attacks. Arriving at a remote research facility in this Arctic tundra, Burt begins to suspect that graboids are secretly being weaponized, but before he can prove his theory, he is sidelined by graboid venom. With just 48 hours to live, the only hope is to create an antidote from fresh venom, but to do that, someone will have to figure out how to milk a graboid. So, this is standard Tremors fare. We've got giant monsters, giant worm-like monsters. What more do you want? I haven't seen this one, but I do like this series, and I'm looking forward to adding this to my collection and watching this one soon. That's Tremors, A Cold Day in Hell. And finally, we have what must be the exclusive Blu-ray. This is Horror Pack exclusive number 63. That is The Last Laugh. As is usually the case with these Horror Pack limited edition exclusives, I'm not familiar with this film, although I have liked a lot of them, so I have high hopes for it. The description on the back tells us, Miles is a stand-up comedian on the verge of breakout success. On the night of his biggest show, a masked killer prowls the dark corridors of the theater, leaving bodies along the way, and forcing Miles to make a terrible choice. How far would you go to succeed? Sounds like a slasher movie. I like that it deals with stand-up comedy. I'm not a stand-up comedian, although I have spent a lot of time with stand-up comedians as a magician, so I kind of have one foot just kind of sort of on the edge of that world, so I understand a little bit about that community and that sort of world. I also noticed the production company on this one is listed as The Killing Joke LLC, which I like. That's a fun name for a company. This should be a fun slasher movie. I'm looking forward to trying The Last Laugh. And that does it. 8 more wonderful movies from Horror Pack. Some of these I have seen and they are good, but all of these, even the ones I haven't seen, look good, so I'm looking forward to watching all of these. In fact, I think I'm going to go do that right now. What do you say, Dr. McCoy? Dr. McCoy agrees. So we're going to sign off. So as always, take care and stay scared.